So I'm a yoga teacher and an endurance athlete and the creator of Conscious Endurance. And that is a movement of people who, like-minded people who want to live an active, healthy, vibrant, 100+ years of living. So that's what we're here to do. And each week I go live and I teach about something. And I ask the community, if you didn't know, you can go to my website, teddymcdonald.com. You can sign up for the newsletter, and you can also join that community. Totally free to join. It's a nice little platform, kind of like a Facebook group. And in there, I'm posting a little bit more regularly and asking people what they want to learn to live this amazing, active, healthy, vibrant 100+ years. And they said that they would like to hear some motivation and mindset talks. So I said, fantastic, let's do it. Here we go. So this is month 1 and week 3, and we're talking about overcoming fear. So in general, what I wanted to find out is, have you ever been in a situation where you let fear actually stop you from doing something? Yes, we all have, right? We all have in some way. Fear has stopped us. Now, is it one time? Is it, does it consistently haunt you, this fear? Or is it, just, I had a little bit of fear, but I got over it. Now, hopefully, eventually, the fear becomes a motivation. You get this fear and you go, oh, okay, wow, I can kind of dance a little bit with the fear. And that's where we want to get to. But first we sort of have to break it down a little bit. So of course I looked thinking about this for this past week and thinking about my life in general and how I've used fear as a motivator. It wasn't always the case for me, right? I would let fear of asking a girl out stop me from asking that girl out, right? As a vulnerable, shy teenage guy, I had to drink in order to get up the cojones to do it. And that might be the same for you regarding something that's more emotional, not necessarily physical, but an emotional thing that stops you. Maybe there's a discussion you want to have with your spouse and you think that it's not going to go so well. And there's some fear that comes up and you think, well, I'll just put it in the closet for a little while. And that's fine, right? I mean, that's fine. People will live their whole entire life. I mean, my parents, lived their whole entire lives without dealing with a lot of stuff. And my hope is that we break that chain. We break the chain of the secret. In my family, it was, just don't tell so-and-so about this. Don't tell so-and-so about that. I know we did that, but don't tell so-and-so about that, right? And it's all these little tiny secrets. And why not? Why not be transparent? Why not be open? Why not use each other to help each other? Because guess what? When we are afraid, a helping hand is what we need. A little hug or a helping hand, right? So I looked up fear and the definition of fear. The definition of fear is fascinating, actually. When I thought, I should probably look up the definition of it. And it is an emotion induced by a perceived danger or threat. The key word, perceived danger, perceived. That means if you didn't perceive it in that way, there would be no fear, right? So if the tiger's coming at me and I see that as a fearful thing and I perceive that danger and that threat and I get scared, right? That same tiger could be running at me and I might be able to know that I might be able to step behind a tree and, the tiger will go by, or, whatever it is, there might be a way that we can just shift our mindset a little bit so that it doesn't necessarily need to be paralyzing. And a story that I want to share is years ago. This was actually my birthday weekend, and I want to say 2002 or 3 or 4, I forget exactly, maybe 2004. And I was climbing Half Dome, not like Alex Honnold. I did not go that direction. On the backside of Half Dome in Yosemite National Park, there is a trail, and you can just hike up the trail like a normal human being. You don't have to climb up the rock face like some people who have become connoisseurs of fear. That's a little bit, I'm not a climber, so I'm not a rock climber, so I don't, but rock climbing is a great way, actually. I've done a little bit of rock climbing, and it's an amazing way to start to dance with the fear. But anyway, so I was on Half Dome, and when you hike up the backside and you get to this basically rock wall, it's the backside of the rock wall, and during the summer, they put these planks across, and they drilled holes into the rock, and they put these bars into the holes, and then they put rope along the bars, and it's super steep. I mean, if you let go, you will die. Like, you will fall down and die, and people have. So there's a huge line of people going up, and at one point I was with my girlfriend at the time, and we see this guy up there, and he is basically strapped to the rock, and he looks like what I thought was a disabled person. I thought, oh wow, maybe this is an incredible feat. This guy he's doing this Half Dome, and he's, it looked like he was unable to walk. I mean, that's how his body was, right? I thought maybe he lost, movement in his legs or something. And so my girlfriend at the time, a lot of people were walking by him, and then they just get to the top. And my girlfriend at the time said, well, why don't we just wait, and why don't we support this guy through, so he can make it up. And I said, okay, great. And it was on and on and on. And eventually she said, all right, let's just go ahead and pass the guy. So we walk around, and again, all this is like in the middle of this rock, super steep, totally dangerous. There's definitely a level of anxiety and fear. At one point, this huge wind blows and knocks my girlfriend's hat off, and literally it goes, woo, like all the way down. And of course, I'm the boyfriend, right? So I want to go get the hat. There's no, I would have died. Anybody would, they're like, nope, see it, that hat is gone forever. Anyway, so we walk around the guy, and we finally get up to the top, and it's amazing. I mean, if you've seen the movie Free Solo, you know exactly the views that you see when you get up to the top. I mean, just unbelievably epic of the whole valley, Yosemite Valley. It's just incredible. So we get up there, and we're walking around, we're enjoying ourselves, having a good time, and then I see this guy walking totally fine up at the top. And I couldn't believe it, that he was fine. He eventually made it up. Something shifted, something changed, and he eventually made it up. And that is the perfect example of someone who is gripped by fear. And I share that story with you because of that exact reason. Like, this is the power of fear if we let it take us over. And what I want to do is let you cue you in to understanding that we don't have to have that happen. And that was obviously a big experience. You're climbing a mountain, and it's a big experience, and yes, there's fear involved and all this, but it happens on a much more subtle level as well. So it's really, really tricky. And on a personal note, for years, my mom, may she rest in peace, she died in 2005, and I went through years and years of therapy dealing with my mom and how she treated me and how I treated her, and our relationship back and forth. And one of the things that she would do on a regular basis is just pull my energy and pull and pull and pull and pull. And I always had a hard time just hanging up, just saying, Mom, I love you, I'm sorry, I gotta go. Click, because I felt bad. And I felt bad because I was afraid that I was going to lose the love of my mom. That, my friends, is a deep, deep, deep issue, right? It was deep for me. So that actually played itself out in all my relationships, right? Thankfully, not so much now, because I spent years in therapy and self-help and all that sort of stuff working on that. But there was this fear, and my therapist at the time, and this is one of the things that I want to share with you, is to understand how that fear represents itself in your body. And that was a cue from my therapist. So she would say, all right, Ted, when you're on the phone with your mom, I want you to just feel your body. Like, just take a moment, see if while she's talking and chattering away, if you can just pause and notice where you start to feel this anxiety. And for me, it was my heart center. It was like right in my chest. I said, I can feel it. I know it. I recognize it. I feel it in my chest. And it was almost this like wrap, you know, and I would, it was like a protection that came over me. And she said, okay, that's good, because she wanted to make the connection between what I knew in my head was happening and how I felt in my body, because we are these beings that are not just brains thinking and not just bodies moving, but energy and feelings and thoughts and emotions, right? And once I started to understand that, then I could stop it. And when I was in a different situation, let's say with a girlfriend or a boss or something like that, where I would have this anxiety and I would notice it in my chest, and it was this fear. And again, this is separate from the fear of climbing a mountain. That's fear also, but a different kind of fear. The reason I tell you about this more emotional is because it's a little bit more subtle. And it might not be something that we're aware of in the beginning, but we have to become aware of the fear if we're going to be able to use the fear to our advantage, which is ultimately what we want to do. So the first thing is to find that kind of awareness. So if you have a person in your life, could be a parent, could be a spouse, could be a boss, could be a sibling, could be kids, and there's this sense, this sensibility that comes up, or this feeling that comes up, or then what I want you to do is I want you to just become aware of it first. Just become aware of how you're feeling and that little fluttering. Maybe it's going to be in the heart for you, maybe it's going to be in the belly for you, maybe it's going to be in the neck for you. It all represents in a different way. It's unique to everyone. Then, what I want you to do is start to take small steps. So let's go back to our guy on the Half Dome Hill. He needed, in order for him to get up, he needed to get up as high as he was when we saw him. He needed to climb a bit. And I don't know how long it took him. For all I know, it could have taken him a couple hours to get where he was. The whole thing, by the way, to go from the bottom to the top is probably 10 or 15 minutes. And again, it's steep and it's scary and it's hard, but 10 or 15 minutes and you're at the top and you're safe and you're fine. It's a big, huge rock. And that's a long way to go when you're presented with death and falling, right? So taking these small steps are what will help you overcome the fear. And for me, it was first acknowledging the awareness of the fear of not having the love of my mom. That was the first thing that I had to be aware of, become aware of. So it was awareness first. And then I started to go, okay. And then I talked to my therapist a little bit and understood that, first of all, my mother's going to love me no matter what. It's not like I'm not going to all of a sudden, and I was an adult at this point, so I'm not going to do something that's going to make her all of a sudden go, my son did that. I don't love him anymore, right? Like, that's just not going to happen. So I had this perceived danger, but again, it was all in my head. And once I started that awareness, I started to take small steps. First was acknowledgement, acknowledge the fear, and then take a small action in the direction of blowing through that fear. And that's one of the big things. That's why I say go back to the guy on the hill, because he somehow, some way would just take a little small step, a little small step, a little small step. And then eventually he made it to the top. Eventually I didn't have this fear with my mom. And I was like, Mom, I gotta go. I love you, I gotta go. Click, you know. And then it's fine. You know, the next time she's like, oh, okay, yeah. And so she begins to understand. There is also a quote I heard a long time ago, but we teach people how to treat us. That's really powerful. We teach people how to treat us. So make sure if you're in a relationship, or make sure you understand that if there's something coming at you, you may be responsible for setting up, allowing that person to treat you a certain way. So if there's fear involved, then it might be your responsibility to shift, to stop, to become aware, and then take those small steps to create a boundary, right? And eventually, when you continue to take these small steps and you become consistent, and this goes back to the physical feat. If you're afraid of, the big race, the big marathon, or, climbing Kilimanjaro, I always go back to that because it's I did it and it's an amazing thing. And I took a group up there and it was just incredible. And it's scary for a lot of people. We did a 6-day trip, and it's scary for a lot of people just to go camping. It's scary for a lot of people. So, but climbing a mountain and being in that elevation, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and it's okay to live with, and this is where I say dance with the fear. It's okay to have the fear, it's okay to acknowledge the fear, to be aware of it, and it's important to continue to take steps to become friends with the fear. Once you become friends with the fear, you're aware of it, you understand it, you become friends with it, then you can use it as a motivator. And this is what I've done. So there's something that happens and I go, oh, wow, you know what, that gives me a little bit of anxiety. That means I need to go toward that thing, whatever that is. Right? I need to move toward the scary thing. Because for a couple of reasons. For me personally, it's how I'm wired. It's kind of how I trained myself to be wired. And I know that when there's something out there that's scary, let's just talk about a physical feat, for instance. Let's say a triathlon or a marathon, right? Or climbing that mountain, going for a trail run, whatever it is. For you, that doing an arm balance, it might be scary to do an arm balance in yoga because you might fear that you're going to fall and smack your head and hurt your neck. That's an important fear. We have fear of fire because fire will kill us. Fear is good until it's bad, and until we allow it to hold us back. So fear is good because it keeps us in check. And then if we can see around the fear and use it to our advantage, then it becomes a motivator. So for me, that's what it becomes now. Oh, you know what? It's scary. It's scary to do that. I don't know if I'm going to make it. It's scary to go swim out in the ocean really far because of the unknown. I don't know if I'm going to make it. Right? And what's that? Like, the ocean's totally fine. Right? You have to be able to swim. You have to understand rip currents. And you have to understand waves. You have to be aware of a swell or not a swell. I took a couple friends out to go swimming in a beach nearby here, and there was a huge swell. And I thought, it's okay, we'll be all right. And we were not. So we tried to go out, and the waves were so big, we turned right back around and came in. What's that called? Wisdom. So if there's a situation like that arises, you got to stop and turn around and be wise and go, yeah, you know what? So fear is good, right? You can stay warm by a fire, and you can hurt yourself if you put your head in the fire. I don't recommend putting your head in the fire. Similarly, With fear, like if you say, oh wow, it really scares me to go, do an arm balance, for instance, in yoga, take the small steps, work a little bit, get the body up on the arms, work a little bit more, crash. You're gonna have to crash. You might get banged up and bruised. But if you keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back, eventually you're gonna get it. All right? The woodpecker gets its nest. So be the woodpecker. So for me now, what happens is I have become what I call a connoisseur of fear. And just a quick story about a hike. I was leading a group of guys on this hike here in Malibu, and they were strong guys, really fit, 40s, 50s. And we were powering up this hike, and I thought, oh wow, maybe we're gonna get to the rock. This will be the first time. It's like a 3 hour, hour 45 up, hour and a half back. And I thought, wow, we're gonna get to this rock, and I'll take these guys up the rock. So we get to this huge rock, not as big as Half Dome. But I said, hey, yeah, let's go around it, and you can climb up it, and then you can climb up it, and it's amazing. I'll take a picture of you guys, and from hell, and they were traveling here. It was a client visiting from out of town, and they literally went around the back of this thing, and I climbed up it for them, showed them how to sort of straddle the first section, and then hop up and climb up, and then be at the top. And all three of them were like, no, there's no chance. They started, and they wanted to start, and they thought, oh yeah, that looks pretty simple. And then they got gripped by fear. And successful guys and strong, fit guys, and they allowed themselves to be gripped by fear. So they didn't get the experience, right? What I want for you is I want for you to be able to walk through the fear. I want you to be able to pause. And I want you to be able to breathe in fear, breathe in the scariness of it. And like I said, dance with the fear a little bit. Go, oh wow, okay, yeah, because you know what? It might not, it's perceived danger. Now, if there is real present danger, then you gotta step back. And that might be the case for some people. But I bet that there's more for you and for me to experience in this life if we're committed to being aware, taking the small steps to move forward, and move forward with the fear. Dance with that fear and play with it a little bit and go, yes, I'm scared right now. It's scary right here. Right here is scary. How does that feel? Can I be present with the fear? Can I use this fear to keep moving forward? To have a better experience of life, to have a better relationship in life, to achieve more, and not necessarily to achieve more, but to experience more, to explore more, to have a better life. And then you, after you do that, become the example for the next person, right? And that's the idea. The idea is to build your repertoire of what you can do, how you do it, and then ultimately, if this is a group of people who want to change the world, want to live life to the fullest and change the world, one way to do it is to overcome fear. And the way you do that is to create the awareness. Where is it coming from? What is it and where does it come from? And then you take these small action steps, one at a time. Push a little bit, push a little bit. Come back to the yoga mat if it's an arm balance thing or a handstand thing, for instance. Or go climb that mountain again. And if you don't make it all the way up to the top the first time, that's fine. Come back down, regroup, refuel, go back the next day, go back the next week, and then just stay committed to the goal, right? Stay committed to achieving or experiencing whatever that is. And along the way, you may realize, that's interesting. I thought I was going to make it to the top and have this great experience. And then I realized, well, it was scary up there and I only got about halfway through and I came back. But now you have a whole new experience. You know what it's like not to make it to the top. You know what it's like to have this whole half experience. So there's always a benefit. It's not necessarily a failure just because you didn't do the full thing you were going to do, right? I mean, I spent years and years and years and years working on my arm balances in yoga, and even though, sure, I had some fear in the beginning, but if I didn't continue to take those small steps, I wouldn't be able to do the stuff I can do today. That is what I'm going to leave you with. So make sure that if you want to experience this, bigger, better, more adventurous life, then don't let fear weigh you down. All right? Make sure that you become aware of it, take those small steps to move forward and crush it, and on your way, make it part of who you are. And then the next time that fear comes up, as it comes up, you go, oh, wait, hey, wow, I got some fear. What would it be like to do something like this and have the fear? What would it be like to go, wow, yeah, sure, that was scary. Then the next person that comes up and goes, oh, hey, wow, I saw you did that. I'd love to do that with you. Then you have less fear because you're helping somebody else, and it becomes a little bit easier for you. So there you go. Thank you very much, you guys, for watching. Next week, we'll be back here again teaching about more motivation. And remember, go to my website, teddymcdonald.com. Click on the community link to join the Conscious Endurance community. It's totally free. We'll be posting more stuff in there. And that's it. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And I look forward to seeing